What up, world? Ollie Red back in the building with another episode of the All Things House podcast. On today's podcast, we have another guest from Australia, Sydney, Australia to be exact. ATLows, aka ATLow. What up, bro?
Hey, how we doing?
Good, man. How you doing, bro?
Good, thank you.
Of course. Man, we've been trying to get on this podcast, man, for like what, a month now?
Yeah, probably about.
Yeah, right.
Sounds about.
But we're all good, man. We're here now. So let's get right into it, bro. So let's talk about your beginnings in music and house music in general. What were kind of some of those beginnings?
I've always been involved in some sort of music. So my stepdad actually ran a bagpipe band. He was the pipe major of a bagpipe band, and so I used to play the bagpipes. Did that till I was about 16. Actually we went to Scotland to compete. So it was competitive as well. So yeah, got to do that when I was a young fella, and then I've always been into dance music. My mum was into like 90s dance music and stuff. And
Nice.
yeah, I guess it's just from being around her and listening to heaps of dance music, and then started going to I turned 18 and started going to like day clubs, and yeah, just really fell in love with house and the whole scene. And yeah, that's
So from the beginning, from your mom's, what do you remember some of the songs or some of the artists at the time?
It was 90s stuff. Yeah, like Right on Time. And, the most of the classics she was pretty into. She had like a lot of compilation records.
Oh, okay,
stuff,
cool.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of what's considered classics now that she used to listen to. Like everyone in my family's into music some way or another. My brother actually does. He's like a producer as well. He does death metal.
Still
Stuff. So I've been into the metal. I've been into rock. But yeah, dance music's definitely the sound that resonates
some more. Do you recall like a moment that like when you were young, when listening with your mom, like what drew you to the house music sound?
Well, I guess in just the fact that it's easy to dance, with being dancing around like in the car or whatever. It's just fun, like it's not super serious, and yeah, it's just, I don't know. I can't think of a time that we weren't listening to sort of dance music in the car.
That's dope.
She listened to a range of music as well.
Yeah.
Red Hot Chili Peppers were a big thing in my house, and yeah. So, but it was always the dance music that
really got you.
We tended to find over to most. Yeah.
Dope. So going like fast forward a little bit, what was it the next step in your musical journey? Like, was it you said you wanted to go to day parties and whatnot? Did you see DJs that you like wanted to emulate? Do you want to be, or how did that become a thing?
Yeah, I guess so. It was like electro house was pretty big. When I was 18, so that was kind of Ministry of Sound were putting out heaps of compilations and stuff, and that was kind of the sound that was popular in Sydney at the time.
Yeah.
So I was heaps into that kind of electro house sound. But then at the day parties, it was more like, like sampled house and jacking house and stuff.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really heard a great deal of that prior to that. And I was just kind of blown away. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And especially because I had heard samples in the song, because I'd listened to a bit of hip hop as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'd obviously heard samples in the Jack and House stuff that was similar to the hip hop sounds and same samples and stuff, and I was just like blown away I kind of guess that's if there was if I was to have one superpower, it would probably be picking samples
That's tough.
from songs. So yeah, I was blown away and then I learned about sampling and all that kind of stuff, and then that was Jack and House and Deep House was kind of
that was the thing.
I was like, yeah, that's for me. Yeah.
What year was this?
2010.
Okay.
Yeah. Going back a while.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what tracks were out in 2010 in that type of vibe. But yeah.
Oh man, I can't even remember.
Well, that's kind of right around the time that I started thinking about becoming like a DJ. So for me, I was stationed in California, and so we went to Vegas a lot. So it was a lot of that the pool party music with like party rock and shit like that. You know, like it's EDM, basically EDM. But then obviously that shit changed real fast. But I'm talking about it in the beginning. It was that type of music in the beginning.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and look, I didn't know what was good when I first started. But you know, LMFAO, I think they played a festival in Sydney around 2010, and me and my wife and a couple of friends obviously went to that. But yeah, obviously over the years you kind of you pick up what's good and what you like the most, and yeah, I guess my taste is always changing. It's always been pretty true to that sampled house sound, or Jack and House, or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, that's certainly what I'm trying to write at the moment. Trying.
So at what point in your mind did you want to become a DJ?
It was about that time, I think 2010 or 2011. My wife and my mum bought me my first set of decks. It was just like a controller, and took me a little while to figure it out. I didn't have any friends really that were mixing or anything like that. So it took me a little while to figure out how to actually beat match and stuff like that. And my brother's friend was actually a Sydney DJ at the time. He was playing like every weekend. So he actually lent me his CEJ 1000s.
Okay.
Man, I kind of learned on them. You know, no waveform or anything like that. And and then you kind of meet friends along the way who are kind of getting into it as well. I had a mate who had the same controller. And then straight away we were like, yeah, we've got to hang out and do this
and mix it up. Yeah.
It was like every afternoon, every the spare moment I had was just trying to figure it out. And then I actually did there's a thing in Sydney, I can't even remember what it's called. Your Shot.
Okay.
It's like a DJ competition.
Oh, dope.
So I signed up for that, and didn't win, but obviously met a fair few people through that, and it kind of opened up the whole avenue through that. Met many people I still talk to this day that are either in the industry or not in the industry. A lot of people have left. You know, life gets in the way.
Yeah.
If it's not paying the bills, I guess
gotta go on.
You can move on, unfortunately. But, that was a really cool thing to do, actually. So I was playing a completely different sound then, and I was a duo then as well. But yeah, very grateful that I got the opportunity to do that, and certainly opened up the doors for me. So that was awesome.
So taking that step from the bedroom to out in the clubs, how's that process? And did you start playing in Sydney, or did you start playing other places?
No, so I pretty much went from doing that Your Shot competition to, I think I got my first sort of club gig, you know, like a month or two after that. And then it was a slow progression. I kind of got my first gig, and then maybe another couple of months I'd get another one, and but it did kind of snowball after a particular point. I was playing every week and sort of during the week as well. And then, yeah, I live a fair while away from the city, so it's,
Oh, okay.
now it's a bit hard for me to get to and from all the time. And you know, showing support, I should try and show support as much as possible, but if I'm out there not playing, I'm generally at home making music.
Yeah.
So yeah, the older that you get and the harder it is to stay up late, unfortunately.
Very true. Very true. Very true. So
yeah.
at what point did it become like almost that you're like regularly playing and traveling a little more? Was that like what years was that? Was that almost instantly, or did it take a little while?
Yeah, it was probably closer. I think I did so I was a bedroom DJ with the controller for a couple of years. So I think the Your Shot competition was maybe 2014.
Okay.
And then it would probably by 2015 or 2016, I was playing pretty regularly around Sydney. Small gigs, big gigs.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, I think it was 2016 or 2017, I actually got a residency and managed to actually play my first festival. We've got a festival here called Return of Rio.
Okay.
So I got to open up the main stage, which was pretty unreal. And I think Mr. C was playing that day. Carl Cox was headlining the festival. So that was pretty awesome that I got to, I got to meet a fair few, big DJs.
Yeah.
Just being, allowed to open up a festival. So, like, I've never played on a system that big.
It was massive, right?
Before. Yeah, it was huge, man. Absolutely massive. Function ones everywhere.
Nice.
So yeah, that was all. And I was sort of I was doing a lot of warm-up DJ stuff then. So it was heat, down tempo. I was playing like a lot of Nutbreaker and complete. I kind of wanted to do, because I felt like in Sydney, not a lot of people could do the warm up well. And yeah, it was really good for me because I now know how to warm up extremely well. I've done that.
Yeah. We all have, bro. We all have.
Yeah,
Sure.
right.
So how was the scene? All right. Then was it? I want to know like the musical like taste, and then how was it? Was it more underground? Was it more clubby? Was it more barish? How was it?
Tech house was a huge thing then. So I think, like there was still the odd sort of Jack and House events here and there. I think minimal was just starting to become a big thing.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of funny. It comes in waves, I think.
Yeah.
So, I guess one of the biggest weekly events here is called Sash.
Okay.
They do a Sunday thing, and they used to, I guess their first sound was like deep house. They used to play like at a pub called the Abercrombie, which is like it was a daytime, but then went all night as well. And I guess they started doing deep house, and then it's kind of evolved into a more minimal sound, and tech house is kind of the popular stuff. But yeah, it was certainly like underground was kind of winning back then. Now it's a bit different. I think there's more of that kind of commercial sound coming back.
Okay. That's what I was going to ask. I always ask. Steve?
Yes,
Yes.
I do.
Yes. So they run a podcast as well. So I always like to try to get the scoop of kind of what's going on over there. So how's the underground scene there right now, or is there?
Well, the Sash is still doing an underground thing. So they're still more minimal.
Okay.
But they do, depending on what artists they have, if they've got international guys coming over, they're actually really good. They'll like kind of curate the DJs to complement the international. So that's pretty cool. But I would say like most of the big parties that are happening these days are more boat parties.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, as in like we've got one of the best harbors on the planet, so
Yeah.
why not do it on a boat? But yeah, I'd say more the commercial stuff. It's more accessible for people who aren't into underground like house, I suppose.
Yeah.
You know, your typical punter wants to hear a vocal that they know. So yeah, Sydney's a bit of a funny scene, man. 10 years ago, underground all the way. Now it's probably more, you know, commercial, so it's a little but more accessible. Yeah.
Yeah, we find that most things happen like in waves, obviously. So every 10 years there's usually like a change in like, you know, either fashion or music, but in particular music. So I feel as though right now that the that 90s sound is coming back really strong right now, which is I love, because I feel as though that's the best time. I mean, the 90s, that 10 years was the best.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually listened to your release that's coming out on Third Room. 96 album. I'm like, dude, that's 90s all the way.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I think certainly 90s fashion is coming back in Sydney. Everyone's wearing like baggy pants again.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. So hopefully, yeah, the 90s rave stuff's coming back big time.
Yeah, hell yeah. So like I mentioned prior to starting, you run a label. You want to tell everybody the label and kind of how it started?
Yeah, so I run Lifted Grooves. I run that with a dear friend of mine, Romy Black. And yeah, it's kind of in the name. If you can lift it and it sounds jacking, then we'll sign it.
Hell yeah.
So it's a home. I guess like we both love sampled house. You know, anything that I guess the Rob Souls, the Too Many Rules, all that kind of sound. And we're like obsessed with it. So yeah, if you got an MPC or a drum machine and you can do that kind of stuff, then
let's do it.
Hit it. Yeah,
yo, I actually just got a piece for my MPC 2500. Literally right before we started. I got my a whole new board, so I'll have those kind of stuff over for sure.
Yeah, Romy's actually bought. Dude, he's like obsessed with gear. He's like he's got 2 MPCs. I think he's got a 2000. And he's like playing on them all the time now, which is sick.
It's dope.
I was actually at his place the other day and showed me how they was
playing around with them. That's dope.
Yeah,
that's dope.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to skip before. So the process of the DJing, and then when did you pick up the thought of production?
It was always in the back of my mind. So in high school, I kind of dabbled a little bit with like garage band and stuff, like nothing great. And I had Ableton, but just for recording DJ sets.
Okay, the recording too.
And it was always just too daunting for me. Like I had tried a couple of times and just couldn't figure out how to put a kick drum down and all that kind of stuff. And then a guy that I was actually hanging out with at the time, he had done Ableton. They've got an Ableton school here in Sydney, so I actually go and learn. And he showed me a few tips and tricks to kind of get started. And yeah, the rest is history. As soon as I could figure out how to lay a kick down and a clap and a hi-hat,
you're good.
I was off, man. Yeah, I was off. My DJ room had been converted into a production studio.
Yeah.
The decks kind of got pushed to the side, and I was obsessed after that. So thanks to that friend. But that's kind of how it got started. I'd always wanted to, but yeah, like I said, couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
And then since then, it's just been like YouTube tutorials. I'm pretty lucky. I've got like 4 other friends who also release with the label, and we're like in a production chat. So like any tips or tricks we share with each other, and yeah, it's awesome. Whatever I know, they'll know. And yeah, it's actually really cool to be a part of
That that's the we always talk about, like, you know, sense of community. Within music, you know, bouncing tracks or bouncing ideas off somebody, they can give you feedback and give their feedback. Kind of touch on the importance of being in like a good community, like a good musical community.
100%. Yeah. It's so important that I have those guys, because I pretty much send them every track before I send them to labels. Yeah, like it's so important, and I can't put a price on how awesome it is having them there. So,
That's dope.
and I'm sure they feel the same as well. A couple of them are a lot more advanced than myself. They've been in the industry for a long time, but you know, you're always learning, and that's the awesome part with music production is you're just constantly picking up new stuff and new ways of doing it. Yeah, which is awesome.
It was I just started a new community. I'm in like fucking 4 of them. But one online on Instagram. One guy he lives in New York now. Other guy lives in California, and another guy actually lives in Toronto actually. And we bounce stuff off each other's you know, minds all the time, from mixing, from, you know, does it sound in key or not, like whatever small stuff we can find, because it may not be, you know, your idea is better than mine, is this different, and it may work better, you know.
Yeah, that's right. Or they may just have a different way of applying something, or a different way of sampling something, or whatever it may be. When you get 2 heads together, you generally come up with a awesome idea, or something that's just completely out of the box.
Very true.
You know, that's awesome.
Hell yeah. So if you know, if a new listener or a new beginning DJ or producer is kind of listening to this podcast, what kind of advice would you give them, first with the DJ wise, and then the production wise?
DJ wise, I guess, you know, show your support. It's always important to show your support, especially to the events that you want to play. Meet as many people as you can. Networking is pretty important this day and age. So get out there, you know, record as many mixes as you can, put them up to SoundCloud so you've got stuff ready to go, so you can start showing people. And yeah, be nice, dude.
Be nice, all right?
Yeah, that's right. Or girl. Or just be her.
Or girl.
In regards to production, I guess release when this was a tough one for me to, like, especially now to look back on. I've release what you think you want to release. Don't just release stuff for the sake of releasing it. There's a handful of tracks that I probably now regret releasing just because I was impatient and just wanted to be out there. So yeah, I guess my advice is wait until you're ready, until a label will sign it, and make sure that you are 100% happy with it. If it doesn't work in the sets that you're playing, it's probably not right to release. That's probably about it. Just make sure that you are 100% happy with the stuff that you release.
True. Okay, bro, where can everyone find you? Like your social media links, Bandcamp, see if you got it, SoundClouds, label stuff. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, ATLows Music, Instagram.com/ATLows Music, Spotify, just punch in ATLows and you should see a very hideous photo of my face. Facebook, same thing, ATLows, and you can also listen to myself on TrackSource. Go to TrackSource, punch in ATLows. Lifted Grooves, same thing, Instagram, Lifted Grooves, Facebook, Lifted Grooves, TrackSource, Lifted Grooves. You can find all of our stuff in there. And also, like, our brother sister label, Soul Life Records, also SOULUXE. I think I've got a sticker here actually.
Dope.
You can same
Put it in.
Instagram,
Okay.
Facebook, TrackSource, all of that.
Okay.
So that's probably more the vocal stuff that we do. And then Lifted Grooves is probably more the underground stuff. But like if you've got an EP with hip hop on it, we'll sign it. I've released an EP last year called All Night, and that's got a couple of hip hop grooves on it as well. So.
Dope. That's super dope, bro.
Yeah.
Super dope.
Yeah.
All right. So one last question, man. So if someone asks you in one word, what does house music mean to you? What would that one word be?
What would it mean to me? Fun, I guess. Enjoyment. I'm gonna go
Two first.
and fun.
Breaking the rules, but all good.
Yeah,
All good.
yeah, and it makes me move. It makes my head bop, so it makes me happy, man. So it's certainly fun. Then in production, there's probably times that you're banging a head against the wall trying to get a track done.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's 100% fun.
Hell yeah, bro. Well, man, thank you for coming on the podcast, bro. It was a great talk, bro. For sure. Of course. Well, everybody, this has been a new episode of the All Things House podcast. Peace.